I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports, and welcome to another edition of the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's show, I'm going to give you 5 fantasy takeaways from week 11 of the fantasy football season. These are 5 takeaways I took away from the games this weekend. I know there's still one more game to be played tonight. Hopefully it's a good one, and hopefully it doesn't impact your game too much unless you need to get a victory. But hopefully you already have come out on top and have won all your games this week and are ready to ride into the playoffs on a hot streak. So here are my 5 takeaways from week 11. First of all, Justin Herbert is having one of the best rookie seasons ever for a quarterback. I can't say this enough. He is just absolutely tremendous. 25 total touchdowns to just 6 interceptions, 5 300-yard games. And remember, he didn't even play the first game of the year. And he's on pace for nearly 4,500 passing yards and 42 touchdowns. This is just an unbelievable season. I mean, these are MVP type numbers if he's playing on a team that makes the playoffs, makes a playoff run as well. Herbert is just fantastic. He's going to be a big time star in this league for years to come. And if you have him on your fantasy team this year, you are likely doing very well because he is having just an unbelievable season. And I can't emphasize enough, it's one of the best seasons ever for a rookie quarterback. My next takeaway is the Cowboys offense isn't quite dead yet. So Ezekiel Elliott finally had his first 100-yard game of the season. Andy Dalton had a 3-touchdown performance. Amari Cooper, 6 catches for 81 yards. CeeDee Lamb made one of the best touchdown grabs you'll ever see in the back of the end zone, contorting his body from one side to the other as the ball was in the air to make this tremendous catch. If you haven't seen it, go Google it or YouTube it, whatever you need to do, and watch this catch by CeeDee Lamb. It was absolutely fantastic, but it was a very encouraging game after some down weeks offensively. I know they played the Vikings, not a great defensive team, but still, I think it's a good sign that the Cowboys finally showed some signs of life offensively, and hopefully this is a sign of things to come for the rest of the year for this squad. My next fantasy takeaway is Taysom Hill can start in this league. Again, I know it was just a game. It was against a bad Falcons defense, but still, I was really encouraged by what Hill did on the field. 18 of 23 for 233 yards. He ran 10 times for 51 yards and 2 touchdowns. He scored 28.75 fantasy points. So that's a very good showing for fantasy owners. If you used him on our league, you could not use him as a tight end, which is right. But in some leagues you could. And if you were able to do that, wow, great work there because you just posted huge numbers at the tight end spot. But still, even as a quarterback, I think he has some fantasy value going forward starting. I know he's not going to have great throwing numbers every week. He's not going to complete a ton of deep passes. He did struggle throwing some deep balls yesterday, but still, he threw the ball well underneath. He runs very well for a quarterback. He could be one of the best running quarterbacks in the league if he starts on a full-time basis. So Hill definitely has fantasy value in my eyes. Could be a low-end number 1 or a solid number 2 the rest of the way. Definitely a good spot play for fantasy teams. My next fantasy takeaway is Derek Carr has taken his game to a new level. He is having a tremendous season. I know his fantasy numbers aren't off the charts. He does have 6 games with 20 plus fantasy points, though. So they have been decent. And he has 19 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions, a career best 108.7 quarterback rating right now. And his QBR, which is a rating system a lot of people like to use, is 4th best in all of football. So 4th best out of all the quarterbacks in the NFL. And he's doing this with a less than stellar receiving options. I know they upgraded a little bit this offseason, but still, Nelson Aguilar is not an elite number 1 receiver, and he's their top playmaker in the passing game at the receiver position. Darren Waller's very good. I know that, and he's one of the top tight ends in the game. But for the most part, Carr's posting these great numbers with a less than stellar cast around him. I think he's really taking big strides this season, and he's turning in to be a solid NFL starter in this league. And hopefully, if the Raiders can get a few more pieces around him offensively, especially in the passing game, I think he could be a much better fantasy option going forward in the years to come. My last fantasy takeaway for week 11 is some disappointing players seem ready to finally turn it around. These were some elite picks, guys you took in the first round that have really disappointed this year. But this past week, very encouraging performances. Michael Thomas, 9 catches for 104 yards, finally did something on the field. He looked healthy. Hill looked his way often. He was targeted a lot in this game. He looked like the Thomas from last year. Hopefully, this is a sign of things to come, and I think it will be as long as he can stay healthy. Mark Andrews, he was one of the top tight end picks this year. 5 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. He has 12 catches his last 2 games. They're finally looking his way a lot in the passing game. I think he could be a big factor down the stretch, finally live up to his high draft status. And then Ezekiel Elliott. I talked about him earlier. He had his first 100-yard game of the season this past week. Hopefully that bye week got him a little healthier. He looked strong in the game. Cowboys offensive line getting a little healthier. Andy Dalton back, which is a positive for Elliott as well, as take some pressure off that running game. Hopefully they can Dalton can continue to soften up those defenses a little bit by using those elite receivers in the passing game. But Elliott, very encouraging game. I think he can get a lot of touches in this offense going forward. And as long as he can avoid getting banged up a little bit, I think he has a chance to be a big time fantasy producer the rest of the way. All right, those are my 5 takeaways from week 11 of the fantasy football season. Again, I hope you had a lot of success this week, came out on the winning end of things. This has been Jeff Paur for RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day.